Hey guys, I got a new video. I did a lot of research for this one. It's probably going to be one of my longest ones, so just try to stick with me when I'm saying everything. I'm listing the research, I'm listing practical knowledge, experience knowledge, science knowledge, all that good stuff. So just try to pay attention as best you can. Hopefully you come out learning something. Today I'm going to be talking about the fasting pros and cons. And right off the bat, I'm just going to say fasting is not made for fat loss and it's not made for building or even preserving muscle, and I'll get right into that. People say that fasting is that it increases HGH, which is human growth hormone, which is kind of like testosterone. It just means when you have more of it, either testosterone, human growth hormone, you build more muscle at a faster rate than you normally would. But what people fail to understand is that protein and amino acids are better at preserving and building muscle, obviously, than just having HGH and testosterone, because of the fact when you fast, you take away your energy and you take away your amino acids and proteins to build muscle. So you can't build muscle without the proteins, even if you have HGH. Just like you can't build a wall with no bricks, even though you have workers. You can't build a wall with no bricks, just like you can't build muscle with no protein. It doesn't work that way. Now, in the beginning of the video, I said preserve muscle. Keep that in mind. That was a key word, preserve. I'm not a person who wants to preserve my muscle. I want to build as much muscle as possible. I'm a bodybuilder, just like a power lifter wants as much muscle, same as a strong man. They want to be as strong as possible. You want to have as much muscle as possible to be able to be as strong, right? So I don't want to preserve my muscle. And when they mean preserve, they don't really mean you keep your muscle, because when you're fasting, you're going to lose muscle, because when you're in a calorie deficit, which is what people use fasting for, you're going to lose muscle no matter what. And when you do fasting, you're going to lose more of it than if you did it a different way, such as just a balanced diet of a calorie deficit. So it's not made for fat loss at all. A diet example would be if you eat 2,000 calories, let's say, just hypothetically, you eat 500 for breakfast, 1,000 for lunch, and you eat 500 for breakfast, 500 for lunch, and 1,000 for dinner. That's 2,000 calories, right? Now, if you take away breakfast because you're fasting, now you're eating 1,500 calories and you're in a deficit and you're going to lose fat. That's how it works. Calories in, calories out. That's just how it works. So if you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose fat. Fasting isn't made for that, though. And you can be in a calorie deficit without fasting or doing some specific diet. You could instead have those 3 meals and just decrease the calories. So you could have 250 for breakfast, 250 for lunch, and 1,000 for dinner, for example. Or you can have 500 for breakfast, you can have 250 for lunch, you can have 750 for dinner. Whatever you want to break it up into, as long as you're below your maintenance, it works. So yeah, you can be in a calorie deficit without fasting. And another topic that's within this is your willpower, and if you're able to handle the fact that you're going to be fasting for 18 to 20 hours without eating anything. What this does is it's going to cause you to binge if you don't have the willpower to do that. And if you binge, not only does it negate the effects of the fasting completely, but you're also going to feel like shit because you weren't able to complete your simple objective of just not eating for as long as you were fasting for. And no one wants that. They don't want to feel like shit even though they're doing something that they want to do, right? You don't want to fail. People don't want to fail. So normal people don't have the willpower to do that. Just fast for 20 hours just to see a little bit of fat loss, when you could do it better if you just do a balanced diet, calorie deficit, like I've said. And this brings me into the next little con. It's not really a con, but it's kind of a little side note. People that do fasting do empty stomach cardio. Empty stomach cardio does not burn more fat than normal cardio, and in fact it probably burns less, because of the fact that when you have empty stomach cardio, you have almost no energy, so you can't go as long or as hard. If you're not going as long as hard, you're not burning as many calories. If you're not burning as many calories, that cardio obviously isn't working for you. So fasting is not magic. It's just the same as empty stomach cardio is not magic. You don't lose more fat doing it. You still need a calorie deficit. And so why run your body into the ground and practically torture it? You're just asking for yourself to binge and then go and eat a bunch to kind of boost everything that you've lost. and then you'll go into a calorie surplus and you'll get even more fat, which is not good. So just keep in mind, fat loss is calories in, calories out. It always has been, always will be. It can't change no matter what diet you're doing. Calories in, calories out. Just try to always keep that in mind. Now, the first pro I'm going to get into is autophagy. This is a big science word. I know you guys just love hearing the big science words. Now, autophagy is the body getting rid of dead or cells that are not optimally working. How this works is when you eat, your insulin level spikes and your glucogen levels lower. Now, when you fast, you're taking the insulin away. Well, you're not taking it away, but it drops because you're not eating anything. So your glucogen level rises because your liver sends it out. And what they do is this spikes your blood sugar because it wants your cells to remain active, so you're active if you're doing stuff, and it doesn't want to pass out and die of starvation, obviously. So it sends us out. And what your cells do is they're starting to search for food. So what they do is, I'm not going to go super in depth about the whole science thing. I'd probably break not only my own brain, but also your brain. I did all the research, but just in layman's terms, a cell goes out and it'll find a dead cell or not optimally working cell, and it'll eat it. And it'll use that for energy. And you get rid of all the dead cells in your body by doing this autophagy. Now, fasting does do autophagy because you're not eating for such a long time. Your insulin levels drop, glucogen levels rise, and then your body has to go search for glycogen by eating other cells. And then when you break your fast by eating a bunch more, your body, it realizes, hey, we don't have enough cells because we just killed them off or whatever. So they just build a bunch of new cells. You have a bunch of new cells and a bunch of really cells that are still working in your body. So if you constantly do this, you just constantly have new cells all the time. You never have dead or not working cells. So your body is working just like as optimally as possible with all this new nutrients and stuff. Now, that sounds amazing. Now, it kind of negates all the cons. Now, none of the cons were necessarily bad. Like, I never said fasting was just bad. I said fasting was not made for fat loss, and fasting was definitely not made for muscle growth, which is a fact. You can argue all you want. It's not. Fasting is to increase your life expectancy and just keep you as healthy as possible, practically. And autophagy does that. People also fail to recognize that when you work out super intensely or super hard, super long, whatever, you do the same thing. You take all the glycogen from your muscles. If you work your entire body, let's just say you work your entire body and you burn all the glycogen in your muscles. Your cells are going to look for more glycogen by eating dead cells. So you can either do this fasting and torture yourself and lose muscle, or you can just work out really hard. You build muscle. You can be in a calorie deficit if you want, lose fat, build muscle at the same time, while still triggering this autophagy effect that eats all your dead cells and boosts your life expectancy. So one pro to quite a few cons if you're in my shoes, which is building muscle and strength and all that good stuff. Now, if you're just an average folk looking to just be healthier, fasting is a great thing for you. If you don't already have the autophagy effect, and your body already does autophagy on its own, but this kind of just boosts it at a much degree higher, and you can do it whenever you want. You can force it practically instead of just waiting. And this has a lot of links. I'm sure you could do a lot of your research. Lots of things like reduce risk of Parkinson's, reduce risk of cancers, diabetes, just obesity, obviously. Just a bunch of different things that you could look up and do your own research on. But yeah, that's the one pro to the other cons. So if you're out of my shoes and you're just a normal person looking to be healthier, fasting is definitely good for you. Note, you have to do fasting for 18 hours minimum for autophagy to start and 72 hours at maximum for it to be at its maximum capacity. That's really all I got for fasting, the pros and cons. It doesn't really solve whether fasting is good or bad. It's just completely optional to what circumstance you're in. So take that with a grain of salt, and you just kind of have to do your own research, or if you don't need to do your own research, but I said things that just made sense to you, and you're in my shoes, don't do fasting. If you're just not in if you're not in my shoes and you're looking to be more healthier, then obviously fasting would be perfectly fine. You just have to figure out what's good and what's bad for you. Try it out. just trial and error. That's what a lot of fitness is about, is just trial and error. You're going to have to test it out, see if it works. If it does, keep doing it. If it doesn't, don't do it, obviously. But that's really all I got for the fasting pros and cons. Stay tuned for other videos. You know the drill. Follow, sub, like, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.